right. Hi, guys. This is Sarah, and I am here with Dave Saunders, who works at Hallmark. Dave, do you want to give us a formal introduction?
You bet. Hi, guys. As Sarah said, I'm Dave Saunders. I work at Hallmark Cards, and I'm in a global role. And so I'm the managing director of our Asia procurement operation. And so I spend a lot of time in Asia. I live in Kansas City, but kind of go back and forth. And so I've been in this role for around 5 years. I love it and happy to share a little bit about the international aspects of it today.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's got to be an interesting job, I would think. I'm
Yep.
anxious to hear more about it. So how did you get to where you are now?
All right, so when I went to college, I studied engineering, but as I was coming out of college, I knew that I had interest in engineering, but I was also interested in more general business. And so the job I took coming out of college was actually with Hallmark, but it wasn't an engineering role, it was a manager role. And in addition to my engineering degree, while I was working at Hallmark, I decided to go back to school and I got my MBA at night while I was working, and that's ended up to be a really nice mixture for me, where I get aspects of kind of the problem solving piece from the engineering side, more of the thought process than the specific skills you learn, but combining that with the business side, and that's been good for me. I've been in lots of operations and supply chain roles throughout my career at Hallmark, and I've worked in manufacturing in the United States, and now in the global role that I'm in.
That's awesome. You found your spot with Hallmark, evidently.
I think so, yes.
So, and it always interests me how many different types of jobs there are just to make them work. So, so where would you like to be in the future? Are you?
Yeah, so I'm actually the space I'm in right now is one that I hope I can just continue to be in for a while. So, I'm in the field global supply chain, and so there's supply chain roles that are international. So there's supply chain roles that are within the United States. And the particular part I'm in is sourcing, so product sourcing. And so, as I said, we're a manufacturer ourselves, but there's a lot of products we don't make. And so the products we don't make, my team helps locate and helps buy, and we'll work with our artists and creative people on what the design for the product is, and then we'll work with factories to help produce that. And so that's really fun seeing concepts come to life, especially some of the more innovative things. And on the supply chain side globally, there's just a lot that's going on. There's a lot that's changing with geopolitical issues, tariffs between countries, and just it's going to be a field that has been kind of stable the last, I don't know, 10 or 20 years, but it's going through lots of change. And so I think there's going to be a lot of excitement there as we figure out what do supply chains look like for companies in the future, and what role does super high efficiency look like that's really specialized, and maybe um, just one thing of a capability versus a diversified supply chain, that if the environment changes, we can switch kind of where things are coming from inside of the supply chain. What are the things we buy today that we can manufacture ourselves with new technology, with robotics, with other kind of innovative thinking? And so I'm in a really kind of interesting spot that is really good. It's a place I hope I can stay for a while, because I think there's going to be a lot of exciting things across the supply chain and global sourcing areas in the years going ahead.
Oh, nice. Yeah, sounds like it keeps you on your toes to keep track of all the changes.
Yeah, one of the things that I enjoy about my job in the global aspect is um, when I read things in the Wall Street Journal or hear headlines on the news about something that's happening outside the U.S., sometimes those have a direct impact on us and our team and our operations. And so those are really big challenges to solve, and they're not necessarily challenges that we can solve by ourselves, but how do we how do we pivot within what's changing in the world? How do we adjust our plans? And so one of the things I really like about my job is just the interconnectivity it has to some of the biggest issues that you see or read about globally.
Yeah, that's cool. And you really realize you're making a difference when you're dealing with the global community. So, Thinking about your daily work, what is your favorite part of your job?
So my favorite part of the job is working with teams across the world. So working with people from different cultures, working in different settings, being in places that I normally wouldn't have been in earlier in my career. And so it's the nature of the problems we're solving and the solutions we're bringing, but really tied to the people and the cultural aspects of everybody that it takes to figure out some of those solutions.
Right. How many languages do you speak? Just out of
So,
curiosity.
you know, I wish I could say more. I can speak a little Chinese, and so it's kind of at the chit chat level. Uh,
Okay.
so I know a few words in lots of languages, but
Uh,
Chinese is the only language where I can hold a very basic conversation in.
conversation. That's good. What is the most unenjoyable part of your job? What do you
All
like
right,
least?
so along with the great things that come from traveling, seeing new places, being with people in other countries, there's downsides of that too. And so, being away from my family when I'm doing those, that's probably the biggest downside is just the that balance between the professional side and the family side. And our family, we lived in Hong Kong full time for a number of years, and so that's helped as I've been in this role. And so my family comes with me on some trips during school breaks and those kinds of things. But that's the hardest part is just I've got a really exciting job that has lots of great things to it. But when I'm in the middle of the things that I love the most in the job, I'm away from my family, which is,
Yeah.
and so I've got to constantly just find ways to balance between those two things.
Yeah, that would be difficult. So, but it sounds like lots of fun. What was your first job that you had and what did you learn from it?
All right, so my very first job was called a section manager at Hallmark Cards, and it was in one of our manufacturing facilities. And I came right out of college and I was responsible for supervising part of our manufacturing processes. And so right away, I had um, people that reported to me as a manager that were my parents' age that had all this great experience that might have worked for Hallmark, 25 or 30 years. It was really intimidating, as just a new college student coming out and being responsible for that. And so, one of the biggest things I learned was just how to work with people and how to try to help people and support people. And I learned that my role as a manager was to enable and to empower and to encourage. And so those were definitely the things I learned most out of that role was just working with people. And
Right.
so it was very humbling, but also very meaningful at the same time.
Oh, that's great. Did you work as a teenager as well?
Yeah, I did.
What?
So my very first job, that I got paid. I was 16 years old, and the place I grew up in, we had an old gas station it was just the owner ran it, and he hired me for about 6 hours on Saturdays, and I would run the store totally by myself when he was gone. So I would change tires, I'd run the cash register. It was looking back, it was a lot of responsibility right out of the gate when I was 16. But I learned a lot from that role too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, gosh, that's impressive. Changing tires, that wouldn't be my forte.
I didn't think it was going to be mine either, but the owner taught me and showed me what to do and what not to do, and it was a really good experience.
Uh-huh, that's awesome. What would your definition of success be?
All right, so that's a little tough to define, and there's, I mean, more than one aspect to it. So professionally, I think it's being in a role that taps into your natural talents, your skills, your experience, and the things you want to do, the things that give you energy to do, and to have a job that does that and provides a decent lifestyle for you and your family that allows you to you know to kind of meet your own needs and give to organizations that you care about, and just be able to kind of continue to grow and learn and develop. Those are the things that I would kind of look at in terms of a career success, and also the ability to not be like stuck or beholden to just one job. To have talents and skills to where you can never be trapped, And so you always have other options, other ways to add value. And so that's kind of what kind of how I define success on the work side, but one that affords the family side that you're looking for too.
Right. No, that's very good. Yeah, it's always interesting how your career path goes because it takes turns you don't necessarily expect out of
That's
college.
right. I would have never envisioned I'd be doing what I'm doing now when I started my career at Hallmark. That's absolutely
Exactly. So, what could you tell students about how to prepare for a similar job in your field?
yeah, you bet. So, I don't think there's any one pathway into it, but some things that I would do is, you're already in an international program. And so I think that's great. When you go to college, you may look for, um, some universities or colleges have international learning opportunities, and that would be great. If you're looking at companies, you might look for companies that have um, international aspects to them, and so those are things. Just be knowledgeable about current global affairs, and let people know what you're interested in. And by talking, by networking, by talking to people that are already in the fields that you're interested in, that helps out a lot too. And so just have an interest and pursue it and look for ways to continue to, I don't know, build up your knowledge and also build up people's awareness of what you're interested in and who you are and what you have to offer as well.
Oh, great. Thank you. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story, and I'm sure the kids will get a lot out of it.
You bet, Sarah. Happy,
So,
happy to do so.
okay, thank you.